Hello everyone, this is KenBroTech from KenBroTech. In today's tutorial, you are going to learn how to design this interface using Prism.js. This interface you have over here is what you normally see on some websites where there's some code snippets and you can do some copy and pasting. I have 4 blocks over here. So the block 1 is what I have, some Python code over here. Block 2 is what I have with some CSS. Then block 3 is HTML and block 4 is JavaScript. So with this interface, when I hover around each of the blocks, I'm going to have these pop up over here. So when I hover around this, I have the language over here and I can click on this to copy. When I come here to have the language CSS and I can click on this to copy. When I come here, the language is HTML and same as this over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this copy button over here. So as you can see, it is now displaying as copied. Now I'm going to open Notepad, and inside Notepad, I'm going to right click and do a paste over here. So as you can see, these codes or this line of codes is basically what I have over here. I can do same for CSS, and I'll just copy over here, and in here I'll do Ctrl V to paste. So we are going to see how we design some of these interfaces using a very popular third-party library called Prism.js. So what I have here is I have a folder with an index.html file. I'll open this up in VS Code, and next to it, I'm going to have this open up in Live Server. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do to the exclamation point and put out the HTML structure. And I'm going to change the title here to Prism.js. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up and go to prismjs.com. I'll leave the link in the description below. Prism is a third-party library we can use to do some of the things I showed you earlier on. These are some people using Prism, and as you can see, React, Stripe, and all these big institutions are using it one way or the other. So what you can do is over here are the themes. So as you can see, this is a theme. This is the default theme. Now when you click on this, you can scroll down and come and have a preview. So this is going to be the default theme, how it's going to look like. Now we can go on one after the other. So this is a dark theme, and this is how the dark theme will look like. This is the funky, and well, it looks very funky to my liking. Now what I normally use is the Tomorrow Night. Now the Tomorrow Night is very cool. It looks very simple and very clean. Then I think the Twilight is almost the same as the Tomorrow Night with some bright colors, but then I'll prefer the Tomorrow Night. So I'll click on this, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on download. Now when I click on download and come here we have quite a number of things. Now over here too, you can still change our theme if we decide to change, but then I wanted to show you the preview of the theme. That's why I chose it on the first page, and that's what we have over here, the Tomorrow Night. Now these are the languages that we can select. Now bear in mind some kilobytes being displayed over here, and those are the sizes. So basically we are going to be given a JavaScript and a CSS file as far as these themes are concerned. So the more you select items over here, the bigger your file size is going to get. So you have to be very sure what you are going to put in there. And for the purposes of this demonstration, for the languages, you are going to select the markup, which is by default selected. Then you have CSS and C-like and JavaScript. What I'm going to do next is I would want to select another programming language. So for instance, I'll select Python. So I'll just check here. Then I'll come down. Now when I come down, there are some few things over here. There's a plugins which we are going to look at later on, but then we are going to stick to what we have here and click on the download JS button. And when I click on this, it's going to download the JS file, and this is a script, so our computer is quite curious about it, so we need to click on keep so that it downloads it. Then we click on download CSS. So now we have these 2 files downloaded. I'm going to go into my download folder, and this is what you have. I have Prism and Prism.js and Prism.css. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Ctrl C, and perhaps cut these. So Control X, and inside the folder, I'm going to paste them here. So I'll come into my VS Code, and this is it. Okay, when you open this up, this has been generated for you, and you're going to see some of the styling very soon. So what we can do is to actually put out a link tag in order to link our CSS. So if I do this and do / prism.css, then of course I also need to add the prism.js, which is quite a huge file. So this is it, prism.js, and just before the closing body tag, I can put up a script tag over here, and inside script I'm going to do source, and the source is going to be this prism.js. So I'm going to do / now choose prism.js. Now I'll save this, and we are going to start with the main work. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to put out a container. Let me just put out some custom styling over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put out the style tag, and I'll do .container. What I want to do for container is I want to give a margin of 50 pixels to the top and bottom, 20 pixels left and right. So inside this container, I'm going to have a .python class, and within this class, I'm going to do an h2, and I'll say Python. So h2 Python. Then what I need to do over here is to bring out a pre tag. So this pre tag is going to have everything within. Then inside the pre tag, I'm going to put out the code tag. Now everything I type over here is going to be some Python code one way or the other. So I can say name is equal to, then this a string, so KenBroTech. Then for instance, I can do print, and I'll pass in the variable over here name. Now in order to get this working properly like what we saw, we need to come into the code, the opening code tag over here, and put out a class over here. So for this class, we are going to say language. Now there are several ways of doing this, but then we are going to say language, and for the language, we are going to specify Python. Now when I do this, clearly we see some styling being applied over here. Now we could have as well do language-py, and we still have it over here. Now we can also do lang py. It's still going to work. And we can also do lang python. It is still going to work. So I prefer to do lang py. Okay. Now if you are to do something which does not exist, you can see that some styling has been taken off because it doesn't recognize lang-pt. So we need to be very careful. So this is lang py. Now things work very well for us. Now you can as well add more Python code. So let's say name is KenBroTech, and let's say age is 26. So over here, I'm going to use a formatted string. I'm going to say, I'm going to pass this variable over here. All right, so this is going to give us the raw code. Now you can see that we have some white spaces. For instance, if I should put out some more white spaces, you are going to see this over here. Now we'll see how we can get rid of these white spaces. So for instance, this is Python. Now I'm going to come here and I'll give a .css class. What I'm going to do, I'm actually going to repeat the same thing. So I have an h2, then I'll do CSS. First of all, I have a pre tag, and inside the pre tag, I have a code tag. Then in here, I'm going to type some CSS code. I'll do body, and this is body. I'm going to say background. I'm going to do background red. Then I'll do, let's say, font size. I'll do font size 20 pixels. I'll do margin 0, and I'll do padding 0 as well. All right, so these are CSS, and if you need to, or if you want to have it like we have it neatly styled over here, like we did over here, we need to come here into the quote tag and put up a class of lang, and you do CSS. So when we do this, you can see that yes, we have this nicely styled over here. Now, I said we are going to sort the white spaces out, and in order to do so, the white spaces will actually lead us to some other things over here, and that has to do with the plugins. So when we come into this plugin section, you are going to see that we have what we have over here, normalize white space. Okay, then we have quite a number of things. So for the next examples that I'm going to show, I'm going to add in a couple more plugins and see how we can use them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the top over here. So this is what we initially did. Then what I'll do is I'll come down here to the plugins. Now we are going to click on normalize white space. Then I'll download the JS. I'll click on keep. Then I'll also download the CSS. All right, so this will be my downloads. Now when I go to my downloads, you can see them over here. So I'll do I'll select the two, Control X, I'll cut them, and I'll come and delete these two. Now when I delete these two and we come into our browser, we can see that there will be no styling over here because they have been deleted. And if I should come back and come and paste them here, and we come back into our browser, we can see that yes, the styling has come back, but most importantly, the white spaces has been taken off. Okay, so we don't have the white spaces that we saw, and that's because we added the white space plugin, or the normalize white space plugin. Okay, that's at the plugin session. So there are quite a number of plugins. We are going to see a few. So for instance, if I come in here and come and give some white spaces over here, we are not going to see any effects over here because we are using the normalize white space plugin. All right, so I'm going to add a couple more of the plugins and see how we can go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this escape markup, and I'm going to show you why we need this escape markup, especially for the next thing we'll be dealing with. Then I'm also going to use this line numbers. I'm also going to use line numbers. Then I'm going to also use copy to clipboard. Then finally, I'll use show language. So let me open this up. So obviously, there are some documentation if you would need to check these out. So for instance, you can click on the link over here. So the line numbers, and it leads you to how to use the particular plugin and the things you should be looking out for. I mean, why you need it in the first place. So I'm just going to show you, but then when you have time, you can actually spend time and read about some of these things. They are very simple to use. So I have selected these plugins and these languages as well. So for the languages, I have Python selected, and I have markup, HTML, and stuff like that, and I have CSS and JavaScript. So I'm going to come in here and download them. So I'll click on download JS. I'll keep this, and I'll also click on download CSS. And I'll go to my download folder, and I'll once again cut this and go and paste it in my Prism folder. So I'll delete this because I don't need this. Then I'll put this here. All right. So this is what we have. Okay. Now remember, these are the plugins that we choose. So for instance, we have a plugin like copy to clipboard button. So when we come here, when we come into our browser and hover around this, we can see that we have Python and we have copy over here. Now this Python is coming from the show language plugin, and the other copy we see is also coming from the copy to clipboard button. So when I do copy to clipboard button, so for instance, I can click on this, and as you can see, we have copied over here. Now I'm going to open Notepad. Then inside Notepad, I can do a Control V, or let me do right click so that you see it very well. So when I do paste, you can see that this is what I copied over here, and I'm pasting it here. I didn't have to come and drag the whole thing over. Sometimes you may miss out some few things. Now when I hover around this, you can see that I have CSS, and I can do copy. And when I come here, I'll do right click and paste over here. So this is the copy and paste thing that you see on some website, and I think this is very good. This is a third-party library, and you don't need to do a lot of work. You just have to learn these things and go. So the next thing we are going to see is remember we also have this line numbers, okay? And in order to see the line numbers being lined up over here, we need to add in one more class. So for instance, we can come in here. If you want to add the lines to let's say the CSS only. So with the CSS only, we can come into this particular div. Okay, there are a couple of ways of doing it. We can come into the pre tag, the CSS pre tag, and we can do a class. And what we are going to do is we are going to do line dash numbers. So when you do line dash numbers, you can see that we have line numbers over here. We could as well, let me clear this up over here. So now you don't have the line numbers over here. There are several ways of killing a cat. For instance, this is a class CSS. We can actually put out our line numbers over here. So I can do line dash numbers over here. And when I do line numbers over here, you can see that we still have a line numbers over here. Now let me clear this and come here. Now this is a container. The container, remember the container is covering all these languages and items over here. So if I come into the container class and do line numbers over here, all that I'm trying to say, so I'll do line numbers. All that I'm trying to say is I want line numbers for everything in here, and that's exactly what you see. So I need not to come into Python to come and specify line numbers, and also to CSS to specify line numbers. All right, let me put out the line numbers only for Python. So if I want to do it for only for Python, I can come in here and do line numbers. So that's what we have over here. Escape markup, we are going to show something in HTML proper. So I'm going to put out a div, and with a class HTML, I'm going to do an h2, and I'll say HTML. Then down here, instead of doing the pre and the code, okay, this is what we've been introduced to, or this is what we are used to. You do a pre-code, and for instance, you do some HTML. So let's say we do hello world. Now when we do hello world like this, okay, what we are quite used to is to come and do, let's say for instance, class, and we do lang, and we do HTML. Now it's not going to work out this way because we're only seeing the text, okay, but then we want the markup itself. So for instance, we want to see the p opening and closing tag like we have over here. All right, so in order to do this, for HTML, we are not going to use the pre tag, but then we are going to use a script tag. So the script tag, so within the script tag, I'm going to have a type, and inside here I'm going to do text/plain, and we are going to specify a class. So this is where the class will come in. Let me close this up. So this is where the class will come in, and over here too, we are going to do language, and we can do HTML. So if we do HTML, and now we can come and type in here our HTML. So for instance, we can do a p, and when we do p and we do hello world, we are not just going to have the text hello world, but then we are going to have the markup like we see over here. So we can also look at some few things over here. We can actually do something for JavaScript. So let's do another div. So let's do div. Let's do .js to create a div, and let's do an h2 over here. Let's do JavaScript. So JavaScript is also going to have, for JavaScript, we are going to use the pre tag and the code tag as well. So in here, we can do a normal JavaScript. So you can do console.log, then you can say KenBroTech. All right. Then as usual, we come into our code tag over here and we do a class, then you specify the language, and we can do JS over here for JavaScript. So clearly this is what we have, and these are some of the things you can incorporate in your website. Now you find this tutorial very useful. There are a couple of ways you can help me grow my channel. Kindly subscribe to KenBroTech and click on the notification button so that anytime I release a video, you'll be notified. Also share this video with friends and family who find this content very useful. At KenBroTech, we say learn programming. You can do it. Bye bye.